Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. I am Commissioner Rick Vest, Chair of the County Board. To my left is Commissioner Deb Shore, Vice Chair, and to her left, Commissioner Sean Flowerday. To my right is Commissioner Roma Amundsen, and to her right, Commissioner Krista Yoakum. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please begin the meeting.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk staff. Printing options are available on request. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021.
I move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore.
Yes.
Amundsen.
Abstain.
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 yes, 1 abstention. Number 2 are claims. Approval of all claims processed through September 21st, 2021.
Move approval of the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Amundsen.
Yes.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 are consent items. These are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without dissent. Any individual item may be removed for special discussion and consideration by a commissioner or by any member of the public without prior notice. Unless there's an exception, these items will be approved as one with a single vote of the Board of Commissioners. These items are approval of right-of-way contracts with the following: Matthew Burgess, North 70th Street and Little Salt Road, in amount $1,459. Eugene J. and Betty J. Taverty Living Trust, North 27th Street and Ashland Road, in amount of $1,241. Amendments to the following contracts: C-20-749 with Envirotech Services, Inc. for corrosion-inhibited liquid magnesium chloride. C-19-760 with Pavers, Inc. for cold mix asphalt. C-20-341 with Whitehead Oil Company for annual supply motor fuel. C-18-536 with NMC, Inc. for annual repair services for construction and purpose-built equipment. Change order number 1 to county contract C-21-388 with Top Coat, Inc. For change in dilution and application rates. Change order number 2 to county contract C-21-314 with Midwest Coating Company, Inc. for end of project reconciliation of an overrun in the amount of $32,983.16 due to increase of cracks needing to be sealed. Change order number 1 to county contract C-21-342 with Tim Sisco Construction, LLC for plan revision number 2 for the net increase of $26,796. Contract with Genuine Parts Company doing business as Napa Auto Parts for aftermarket vehicle parts and supplies.
Move approval of the consent items. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Flowerday.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Amundsen.
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 4, public hearings. The first public hearing is appeal of special permit number 170438 to allow soil mining and excavation on property generally located at Southwest 112th Street and West Van Dorn Street.
All right, with that, we will open public hearing A. And the order of testimony that we will have this morning is staff, applicant, and I guess the applicant is those who filed for this special permit, and then those in support of the special permit that's been applied for, those in opposition, and those in a neutral capacity.
Steve Hendrickson with the Planning Department, 555
Oh, go ahead.
South 10th Street.
I will need to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Last week we talked a little bit more in detail about this, but it's basically an application for a soil mining permit on the southwest corner of Southwest 112th and West Van Dorn Street. It previously was approved for a soil mining permit for 3 years. That expired in January of this year. They had ceased operation for a number of months and wanting to get it restarted. And so this is a new application, but with very much the same setup as they had previously. And it's for another 3 years. And the recommendation of the Planning Commission is for approval. And be happy to answer any questions that you have. I think we also have Pam Dingman with County Engineer's Office here as well, if you have any questions in regards to the roads.
Very good, Steve. I don't see any questions at this time, but we may run into some. So thank you for being here this morning. With that, we would have the applicant for the special permit come forward. And I would remind you, Dan will have to swear you in before you give testimony.
I'll just get you both. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Nate Burnett with Reed Engineering, 601 Old Cheney Road. We've been working with Mark from High Plains, and as Steve mentioned, this was previously approved in 2018. It came before this board. It was approved then. It had been under operation until the permit expired earlier this year. We brought it back in. It was unanimously approved last month at the August 18th Planning Commission. And with these typical applications, we hear two complaints. We hear traffic and we hear dust. And so you'll hear those same complaints, that same opposition this morning. As far as dust, our applicant, our client here, Mark with High Plains, he can only control what is physically on site for the mining permit. As we've stated, a water truck will be on site for usage. Regarding traffic, we testified at last month's Planning Commission meeting that on average there'd be 4 trucks an hour. So over an 8-hour day, approximately about 32 trucks for the day. So as far as the roads, county engineer was at the last meeting, was a proponent of this project, saying that they have not done anything that would recommend or require anything besides approval of this project. With that, I'll let Mark add anything.
Okay. Mark Smith, High Plains Enterprises, 18570 Southwest 29th Street, Martel. As Nate said, this permit was approved before, and the last time that it was approved, we had an agreement with the county for special road maintenance that we were required to do. After we got up and running with it and figuring out what we needed to do for dust control and everything like that, we followed it as such. We had several calls to us through the county for the duration that this permit was issued for dust concerns, and most of those were on days where we were never even working on the project. There was a project adjacent to the lake, Conestoga Lake, just south of where this site is located at, where they're doing a significant amount of work, a lot of trucks bringing in riprap, everything like that, that was causing a lot of dust that I think was getting confused with what we were doing while we were operating our special permit as well. I spent some time out at the property here this last weekend. Yes, it is a gravel road, and yes, it does get very dusty, especially this time of year. Harvest is going on. You've got a lot of semis traveling up and down the road. Even with just normal traffic up and down the road, it does get very dusty on there. But once again, it is a gravel road. We've got now a contract to the property that's just sold south of where this pit is located to actually build some horse barns, some riding arenas, everything like that. If at that point in time, I'm under contract for them, I don't fall underneath of my special permit here if I have to import dirt to that property. Same thing as the farmer, same thing as the guys that were working on the lake. They didn't have restrictions and rules that they had to follow to travel up and down those gravel roads. With the special permit, I do. With the requirements that are set in front of us by the county, it's actually above and beyond what they've done at several other borrow pits, but something that they're looking to make standard for the future. And it's something that we would follow and have to follow to maintain operation of this pit. We go above and beyond with our signing for watch for turning trucks. It is right on Southwest 112th Street, so anytime that we can send our trucks down that roadway versus down West Van Dorn Street, we try to, because it is a less populated area. There's less houses along there. There is a new subdivision on West Van Dorn Street. Like I say, we don't try to fight the neighbors. We don't try to make the property owners angry at us. We just try to operate our special permit how it is set forth in front of us and follow the guidelines and rules that we have to.
Very good. Yeah, Deb.
Question, do you maintain a log of complaints as they come in? Dates and times and names?
We do not. I don't know if the county does or not, but we don't maintain a log on that side. Like say, if there was a complaint, the county always contacts us first. If we were out there working and it was something that we could change or do, we got on that right away. Otherwise, like I say, most of the time that there was a complaint was when there was no operations going on out there.
Okay, so you maintain a log then of what days you're using what trucks and
Yes,
what
so-
direction they're going to what project?
Yes, and we also alert the county when we are using this pit. So that way, if they do get phone calls for complaints, they know that yes, High Plains is out there operating. Let's see what's going on with, our job is not to eliminate the dust on the roadway while we are operating in the pit. That's not even feasibly possible. Our job is to basically offset the amount of dust that our trucks are causing on that roadway. When we were operating prior, we'd water in the morning, same thing, a lot of traffic, everybody's going to work, everything like that. We would water again at noon, and then we would water again at the end of the day. Your heavy traffic periods, which was actually doing all of the people along that roadway a favor because it was killing the dust in those prime traffic and high traffic times, versus that dust is there all day, every day from the same vehicles that are traveling on it on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Very good. Mark, I feel like you answered the question I wanted to ask. You're not there every day. It's not
No.
4 trucks an hour, 8 hours a day,
No.
every day.
No. The reason why we're trying to get this permit back in place, we're the contractor on the Folsom South Street project at West Palm Canyon, where they're building a roundabout in there. So we have intentions of taking the dirt from this site to that project to build the roadway. I don't have anything in the near and upcoming future after that. So this pit would operate for a couple weeks while we're excavating soil out of it. After that, it shuts down until we need it again. And then, like I say, once that we do need it again, we alert the county that we're going to be taking dirt out of there, so they're aware of it. It's not a full-time mining operation or anything like that. It's just on an as-needed basis.
Got it.
And we are the sole operators of this pit. So it's not like any other dirt contractor around can bring in their equipment and excavate soil out of it. It is just High Plains. The reason why we do that is so that we do have control over it, and that way we can make sure that, like I say, the rules and regulations set in front of us are being followed.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I guess one thing to add, previously on the previously approved permit that was used, High Plains had use that pit for some county projects. And so obviously if you're doing work for the county and you're governed per se for the county, by the county, you're going to do everything you can possible to make sure that you're not giving a bad service to your clients. So I think, High Plains, if that opportunity came up again, or with city projects, they're going to do everything possible to make sure this is maintained, so that they keep those relationships open.
Okay. And this permit, or this special permit, was first passed in 2018, and you're just looking to keep the same language
Correct.
intact. You
Correct.
felt like that was appropriate?
Yeah, we've got a little over 100,000 yards that we can get off of this property. And when it was open in the last 3 years, we got maybe 25,000 out of it then. So like I say, with that being said, it's not a full running operation. It's just on an as needed basis, basically used for projects on the west side of town.
Okay.
And like I say, with hearing the complaints that the homeowners have, traveling down that road myself, like I say, I know how dusty it gets. And that's why we try to use the offshoots as much as possible, which works in our favor because we go to a mile to the north on 112th and we're on O Street. So I've got a mile of gravel to travel there. Same thing, we go a mile to the south, we can hit Pioneer Street over by Conestoga Lake, and then we're back on pavement then. So anything that we can do to try to eliminate the dust in the heavily populated areas, we do it. Like I say, when the last project was going on that we didn't have control over, I watched those trucks go flying down that road all day long when we were taking dirt out of there. And they were loud and they were fast and they were causing a bunch of dust. And like I say, it was nothing that we had control over because it was on a different project from what we were operating on.
You really don't want responsibility for other people's trucks?
No. I mean, I have to take responsibility for mine, so I definitely don't want responsibility for others.
It seems totally appropriate. All right. Gentlemen, anything else, commissioners? Anything you'd like to add before we move forward?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you
Thank you.
both.
Thank
And
you.
we do allow the applicant to come back after the testimony of those
Okay.
for, against, and in neutral. If there's anything you want to add at that time, I'll offer.
Okay.
it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this special permit? Anyone here to support it? All right, seeing none, is there anyone here to testify in opposition to the special permit?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Good morning, Andrew Willis, Klein Williams, 233 South 13th Street in Lincoln. I'm representing John and Kim Benish, who live on about Southwest 100th and Van Dorn. So in the path we're talking about, and I would say that we are not necessarily opposed to the special permit, other than we do believe there's additional conditions to the special permit to control and mitigate the health and safety concerns that are necessary. And in fact, I would say that the testimony we just heard probably, is kind of in line with what we're looking for. Our concern, is my client's concern is that the road maintenance agreement and the conditions don't actually spell this out. And so there's a concern that when it says there will be mitigation done if it's needed. And now the new condition that will be put in there that says if there's more than 4 trips per day, they'll notify the county. Well, we've just heard that, there's really 32 trips on an average day, and really that's 64 if you count going both ways. So operations are well above that 4-truck limit. And so then, what does it mean? They notify the county, but it doesn't say what exactly they do. And if the answer was, well, they're going to water in the morning and at lunch and in the evening, and there were some specifics, I think that goes a long ways to answering the problem. I think the biggest concern is, there is I understand there's other traffic too, but there's a need to mitigate the dust, and that's why we have a special permit here, and that's why there is this part of why there's this permitting process. And the concern really is that those conditions aren't laid out. They aren't specific enough, and it doesn't really deal with how how the enforcement works there. If they don't do what they should do, and maybe even what exactly they should do. So, that's probably bigger, what those conditions are, and that's why we're appearing in opposition. I had mentioned what I thought were a couple, possible solutions, and, one is, in that road maintenance agreement, it identifies the proposed routes, or I guess the approved routes, and one of them is down West Van Dorn. Again, as Mr. Smith just testified, he would prefer to go up or north or south on 112th to get to more paved road quicker. I mean, that makes more sense, and again, that sort of resolves our immediate concern. But it doesn't say that in the agreement. It allows, it identifies those routes and Van Dorn as a approved route. So one simple solution is to change the approved routes. And there's also requiring additional mitigation measures. What that would be, I know that I know there is some mitigation measures being taken place, or at least looked at, some dust inhibitors and some of these other solutions that are being tested in the county right now on these county roads. So it's possible that, and I know that's very new, and frankly, I don't know exactly how effective it is, but, is it possible that as part of this permit, we're requiring dust inhibitors and some of that improvement along West Van Dorn? Since again, there's a significant issue. It's increased by the large truck traffic on these days. Perhaps that's appropriate. The third would be, I guess I would like to see possibly if we could just in the special conditions or in that road maintenance agreement address what was just said. More specifically, what it means to mitigate, what it means, how we're resolving the issue that exists, and what the solution is and how it's enforced. I think beyond that, and that is the problem. So what happens, the permit's approved, and then when this occurs, however, months down the road, and then what happens then? We don't have the mechanism in place. Beyond that, I don't think we're necessarily opposing the permit itself and the use itself. I think there's some potential solutions to make this work better. Those are what I would bring forward, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, Mr. Willis, any questions for, you are the attorney.
I'm an attorney for some of the neighbors, the
landowners.
landowners.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess I was trying to keep notes here. 3 proposed changes to the special permit. You want the approved routes to specify that West Van Dorn's not an approved route?
And that's actually in the road maintenance agreement. That's part of it's not in the permit itself, but under the road maintenance agreement, there's 5 approved routes that were listed in the maintenance agreement. And yeah, if it would just change those routes, and again, sort of in line with the testimony you just heard, it makes more sense to either go north on 112th to get to O Street quicker, or south, because either way you're getting to paved roads faster. So if you just change the approved routes in the road maintenance agreement, that resolves the problem. That's probably the simplest one.
Points, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then barring that, you were talking about dust inhibitors and mitigation.
Yeah, and so the dust inhibitors, again, I know that there is some testing of these in the county, but I that's probably that I don't know. I'm probably, I know that the county engineers here, but maybe could speak to this more. I don't know how effective it is or what's kind of coming, but I know that's being done right now. So it's just a possibility that we look at whether or not that should be required as part of an operation when I guess the concern is noting if in the conditions you should note if there's more than 4 trips per day, if that's kind of the triggering, and then therefore in my mind that would be the trigger of, well, that's creating a lot of dust, the 4 trips, and we just heard it's probably 32, which is really, I guess, 64 when you're going both ways. So it's clearly a large number of trucks that are being, the traffic there. So maybe it does warrant an inhibitor or some further mitigation, even though that is additional cost. And then the third one was, really, I guess my concern is in that road maintenance agreement that it doesn't say beyond contractors should mitigate if needed, or notify the county if he's going to do 4 trips. I don't know what that means, or how we enforce that. Whereas if we just if we just heard from the operator, well, when we're operating, we're gonna water in the mornings at noontime and in the evenings. I mean, if that's what the proper mitigation is, and that's what should be done, and to make sure it's done, maybe it says that, and maybe that's required in the actual agreement, so it's spelled out, so then at least there's peace of mind on the neighbors that they know, okay, that either that will be done, that specifically, and if it's not done, then it's an easier thing to enforce if there's an issue. But it probably resolves or I don't know that it resolves the problem, but I mean, that certainly is, I mean, that's answers the concern of the neighbors, or at least my clients, that is, we don't know how to fix this problem.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? No. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in opposition?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Craig Johnson, 10365 West Van Dorn, Denton, Nebraska, 68339. I actually filed the appeal. I filed the appeal primarily to get this discussion in front of you. Had that not been done, this just would have been gone on and no more discussion. So it was important to get it in front of you. Same thing I did 3 years ago, pointing out the fact that this stretch of road is very dusty. It's very wide. It was originally graded to be paved. It's never been paved. And the particular topography in that area also contributes to the problem. It's a depression between 98th and 84th Street going east from that location. You're at basically the top of the hill at 98th and West Van Dorn. That dust settles in that area, and I can tell you I've been behind a truck actually driving out to the pit, and you literally have to stop in the road so that you can see and let the truck get ahead of you. And so it does create a safety hazard there. Very encouraged to hear the discussion around the watering. That was not done 3 years ago to any great degree. There was a couple times when those trucks ran, but very few. I'm encouraged to hear about the fact that they're talking now 3 times a day when they're operating. That goes a long way to help with dust. We know that after a nice rain, dusty roads do settle down for at least a day or so, depending on how much water has been laid down. So that's encouraging. But I echo the same thing. There's no provision, there's nothing codified to make that happen. That's just the contractor saying that he's going to do it. So I would encourage that to be included and the maintenance agreement modified to ensure that in fact does occur. We'll be watching, we'll be looking at this. I was here last week, of course, at the Planning Commission update to you. I listened, and I know that the traffic counts were shared with you by Pam Dingman. The traffic count was done as a result of us pushing back at the Planning Commission meeting, that the fact that that road is heavily traveled, it's one of the heavier traveled, and I think that's been testified to in the past by the county engineer. It's a heavily traveled road. I did point out in separate communication to Deb Shore, our district commissioner, as well as the engineer, that I felt the numbers were in fact a little bit understated because of where the traffic count device was placed at 98th and West Van Dorn, which bypassed 10 local residences on that road who primarily go east from that location. They don't go west. So I think the number is a little bit understated by about 20 or so a day. But that being the fact, I don't think that would change anything. It just reinforces the fact that this is a heavily traveled piece of road, heavier than some roads that are paved in the county, and as heavy as many that are being considered to be paved. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. That was my primary reason for appealing it, to get this out in the open, to let you know this is a troublesome piece of road that at times, even without this borrow-out pit going on, can be challenging, but that just further exacerbates the situation out there. So that was the primary reason. I would only encourage and ask that you again consider codifying some of these discussions that have been made and had concerning mitigating the dust on that road, and that's the best we can hope for, I think, at this point. I had previously asked 3 years ago that also possibly reducing the amount of speed on that road. As we know, a non-posted road in the county is 50 mile per hour. As we all know, many people exceed those speed limits. And certainly having trucks with 18 wheels on the ground going at 50 miles an hour would in fact create a lot of extra dust in the road. So the mitigation provisions that have been talked about. I would hope that you would again codify those in the maintenance agreement, and we'll be watching. We'll be watching. We're taking it very seriously, as you can see, and violations and any problems are going to be coming back to the attention of not only the engineer or the Lancaster County Sheriff, whoever, the health department, whoever might need to be involved, and ultimately may end up back in front of you folks. So we will be watching.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Any questions for me?
Yeah, let's
Okay,
just
thank
see
you.
if anyone has. No. Anyone else here to testify? Anyone here else to testify in opposition to the special permit? Seeing none, anyone here to testify in a neutral capacity? All right, with that, do we have any questions for staff at this point? Anyone want to, Deb, who do you want to bring up?
I guess, Steve, there seems to be focusing on, three specific areas they'd like codified in the agreement. The part about the new desk control method, I don't think is appropriate for this usage right here. But do you have any discomfort in codifying the three items that they're talking about?
That would be a good question for the county engineer.
Okay.
Your conditions that were recommended by the Planning Commission, the condition says to have a applicant needs to enter into a road maintenance agreement with Lancaster County for West Van Dorn. And so I believe in the past that typically had been worked out with the county engineer. The special permit itself doesn't list what the conditions are of that road maintenance agreement. It leaves the details up for typically the county engineer who has more expertise in that matter to work out what would be the appropriate details. I think as part of the special permit, you could add some additional items that you want to see covered, but it's probably a better question for Pam Dingman.
Okay, Pam, if you don't mind, would you step forward, my friend? Thank you, Steve.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. So in regards to the items that have been mentioned that are included in our draft road maintenance agreement, I think what's most important to note, and I keep saying this with special permits have a tendency to make my office the enforcement, and we're not. We truly have no ability to enforce the things included in these permits. The reason that we put the 4 trucks in is so that we could monitor if additional things needed to be done once there were more than 4 trucks in and we got a phone call. In this area, we have gotten a lot of complaints in the past about trucks that weren't associated with the pit. Although I will say that, we also did get some that were associated with the pit, and we did address those with the pit owner. As far as dust control, we have looked at this corridor. We have one test dust control site currently in the county. As the commissioners are aware, I've talked to you about dust control for about 3 years now. It is a problem out in the county, especially with our increased traffic counts on these roads. We probably have about 28 miles of road that could use dust control due to traffic counts. In particular, with this road, because it's been graded, because it is extra wide in the corridor, we believe this corridor would cost about $60,000 a year to put dust control on. And so when I talk to you about a dust control program, what our concern continues to be is the expense of it. And of course, we don't have funding currently for a dust control program. The mile of 98th Street in between Adams and Holdridge that is currently a test site has not been graded to that wider section. It did cost about $15,000 to stabilize. We're not sure how long that's going to last or how that's really going to behave through the winter. And that's why we're doing it as a 1 mile test site. I do have concerns about this section because it is so wide. And so in regards to the routes, given the location of the pit, you know, if we were to restrict the routes to Southwest 112th Street in order to get to a paved route, it would be, you would have to drive to the intersection of Southwest 12th Street and 2 miles north to O Street, or 3 miles south to get to West Denton Road pavement. And so, you know, it is, you know, if you drove to the nearest intersection, another mile to the pavement of State Spur 55A. And so I think it's probably important that we do try to keep a route that is the minimum distance to get to pavement. And also, we don't necessarily try to limit, we try not to limit the routes for these operations. However, sometimes we limit them due to bridges or other concerns in the area.
Any questions for Pam? I did have one, and that was the idea of reducing the speed limit on this stretch of road. Any thoughts on that, Pam?
So, speed limits are based on the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices and engineering study. We do not randomly reduce speed limits on roads based on request, although we do get a lot of requests to reduce speed limits on roads. That being said, we have to have an item that is justified in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices in order to reassess the speed of a road. We don't believe we currently have that condition at this time.
Okay.
Or any of those conditions at this time.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate your time. With that, we will offer the applicant one additional opportunity. If there's anything you'd like to add at this time?
I think the main things are, you know, the county and the applicant can work out that agreement between those two parties. It's not specific verbiage within the special permit. It is a requirement as part of the permit that they enter into that agreement. And as far as specifying what times to water, you know, we're saying this is on average, but if it's less, it doesn't seem fair to say, well, you have to have a higher standard if, say, you're only operating a couple trucks a day, if you just need to get a few loads over to South Folsom. Or if there's more, then certainly the applicant can go, you know, above what we've talked about this morning already with morning, noon, and afternoon. So I guess that's what I'd have to say, and I'll let Mark address anything else.
Yeah, that's, you know, when mitigation is a very vague term in what we have in our contract. And mitigation is basically what it takes to offset what we're doing. And that's where, as Nate said, you know, if I've got 1 or 2 trucks running in and out of there, like I say, holding us to a higher standard is different versus, let's say that it's a very heavy traffic day. We're making really short hauls and the traffic is way higher. Obviously, at that point in time, we're going to increase our mitigation efforts that we've got for that roadway. So like I say, every job site's different. Every project's a little bit different. We just try to fall into play and have set on our schedule what we are trying to do. You know, obviously with dust, it is a safety concern. And we keep safety at the utmost at all times. You know, we don't want to have trucks traveling up and down this road and endangering people's lives or anything like that. That's why we try to do what is set forth in front of us to try to reduce that as much as possible with what additional dust our trucks are causing on that roadway. Mr. Johnson brought up the speed limit, you know, and I had the discussion when we were approved prior, and I had the discussion at the Planning Commission that I can only control what our trucks do. And there were several times when we were operating on it previously that same thing. There is a heavy amount of dust on that roadway. And it's no different for our trucks, you know, as what it is for a car that might be following one of our trucks. You know, if we've got 2 trucks in line with each other, we have to slow down. You know, we told all of our drivers at that point in time, A, for noise complaints, no Jake brakes, B, slow down. I followed them several times with a 40 to 45 mile an hour average speed that they were doing. It is a very hilly area. Yes, it is nice that section of Van Dorn Street is very wide. It makes for great truck traffic on there, because on 112th Street it does get pretty narrow, and as you peak the top of some of those hills, same thing, you do increase the potential for accidents versus on Van Dorn Street, where we don't, because it is so wide. But everything that they're complaining about, like say while driving down the road, we have to deal with as well while we drive down the roadway. Which is why I try to keep my drivers along with the public as safe as possible, which is why we go out and water the roadways and try to kill that dust. Like I say, it's not something you guys could follow us out there in a water truck. We water it, and a matter of a couple hours later, you'd question, did they water it? It is what it is. And same thing, we don't want to continuously have a water truck out there watering all day long, because at that point in time, it's the same thing. You get heavy traffic on a wet gravel road, then the gravel road starts going apart. So it's like I say, I think we've done on our end and what's been put in front of us to do our very best to mitigate what we are causing. It's not our job to completely eliminate the dust on the road. It's our job to offset the amount that we are causing on the roadway.
Right. Very good. Thank you both. Any questions for these folks?
Thank you.
Appreciate that. With that, we will close the public hearing on item 4A. Moving on, let's go to item 4B.
Next public hearing is adoption of the Lancaster County zoning and subdivision fee schedules. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Steve Hendrickson, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. These are some minor increases. Director Carey was before you previously, kind of explained. We had not updated our fees in quite some time. This is just a pretty minor 1.7% increase of about $7 to $10 on some of the fees, as much as maybe $17 on our most expensive ones, but it just helps us keep up with costs for mailings and staffing and everything else.
Seems very appropriate, and the briefing from Director Carey was very in-depth on this item.
Yes.
Let's just see if we have anybody here to testify on this item. Is there anyone here to testify in support of the change in fees? Anyone here to testify in opposition to the change in fees? Anyone here in a neutral capacity? We will close public hearing on item 4B. Let's move to 4C.
Next is setting the final tax request at a different amount than the prior year tax request for Lancaster County and the Rural Library for Lancaster County. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. All right, good morning. Dennis Meyer, Lancaster County Budget and Fiscal Officer. This public hearing is kind of our last step in the budget process. State statute requires if your tax request really changes from one year to the next, you're required to kind of jump through this public hearing, adopt a resolution, and it then is forwarded to the county clerk because they will be in the process of setting levies. So this will kind of let them know where we're kind of at on there. So a few things that the resolution will do, and most of this was then also published so that the public could kind of see what was happening. Now, the numbers that we're talking about have all been adopted. We did our budget hearing on August 24th. So this is really just kind of really throwing those numbers back out there, comparing it to the previous years, and stuff like that. So county-wise last year, the overall county levy was 28.1576. What this will show this year is that the levy is going to decrease down to 26.4076. Now, the levy is decreasing. When you look at tax dollars are still increasing by about $3.5 million. But because of the 11% increase in valuation, that allows us to drive it down because the increase in the tax dollars was right around 3.5% to 4%. The rural library is also a piece of this resolution. It is going to go from 1.7486 cents down to 1.582 cents, and actually tax dollars are actually decreasing by about $7,000. A couple other items that we make the public aware of is just also noting in here, like I said, county valuation increased by 11.08%. The rural library valuation increased by 9.72%. Now, the last item in the resolution.
Dennis?
Yes.
Is that percent or million? That was
Percent.
It was percent?
Percent.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So then we also note in there that the total operating budget of Lancaster County is going to increase from last year's by 22.88%. So seems like a large number. We've talked about it, and what's really driving all of it is the ARPA funding that we're increasing by. So federal funds is really driving everything there. So as far as the tax dollars and the tax levy, the majority of this percentage doesn't really affect it. So, last year I think we were probably at between 2% and 3%. It's all based off of federal money that we've received.
Well,
So,
and the same thing will happen next year because the second tranche of money will come in and it'll
right.
artificially inflate it.
Yeah, because this 22.88% really only includes me budgeting $20 million for ARPA, and we'll have $60 million sitting here before the end of this fiscal year. So these numbers for the next couple of years are going to be kind of skewed, but again, it really doesn't drive our property tax dollars at all. So that's what the resolution will kind of state, but like I mentioned, everything that's in this resolution is everything that we talked about as we went through the budget process, and that budget was adopted on August 24th.
Very good. Any questions for Dennis? Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Is there anyone here to speak in support of the budget proposed and adopted? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the budget? Anyone here to speak in a neutral capacity? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing on item 4C.
Next is number 5, new business. 5A is to be held for 1 week. 5B is a resolution regarding the adoption of the Lancaster County zoning and subdivision fee schedules attached as Exhibit A.
Move approval?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Let me just add a little bit of light to item 5A. It is the practice of this board to have a public hearing of this substance with this degree of testimony. We have the public hearing, and then we give ourselves a week to assimilate the information. You've given us a lot to think about here. We want to have time to examine it and to make a thoughtful decision. It's much more difficult when all this comes in and then 5 minutes later try to sort it out and be in the right place. So we will have a vote next week on this, and there's been some confusion in the past. It will not be on the agenda for the regular board meeting next Tuesday. There will be the regular board meeting, and that will adjourn, and then there will be a special meeting with the agenda will only contain one item, and that is to vote on this particular special permit, protest of a special permit. So we won't be voting today. Next Tuesday, immediately following our regular meeting, we will meet and vote on this. So everybody knows, okay? Very good. We have a motion and a second. on item 5B. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. C is a resolution in the matter of setting the 2021-2022 property tax request for Lancaster County and rural library for Lancaster County at a different amount than that of the prior year.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve item C, setting the budget at a different amount than that of last year, a significantly lower amount. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. D is a resolution to direct the county treasurer to issue tax sale certificates to the county of Lancaster upon all parcels of real estate upon which there are delinquent taxes and which were not sold for want of bidders at the last annual tax sale.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 5D. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. E is a resolution authorizing the installation of traffic control devices in Lancaster County.
Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. The exhibit that I've placed on the overhead shows the proposed placement of 2 stop-ahead signs on Branched Oak Road at the intersection of North 84th Street. There is a little bit of a hill there, and per the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, this does meet the criteria to have a stop-ahead sign. And so we are recommending stop-ahead signs be placed at this intersection. We're hoping that will increase the safety of this area and that will keep us compliant with the manual.
Move approval. Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the installation of these traffic control devices. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. F is a resolution authorizing the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer to function as the authorized organization representative for purposes of securing and administering grant funding through the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Justice Programs and the State of Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. G is a special designated license application from Seven Diamonds LLC for an event on October 9th, 2021.
I don't see anyone here to speak on this item.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve item G. And I do have a note here that says that the Health Department has approved this item in addition to the documents that are contained in the attachment. So, any discussion? Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. H is a special designated license application from Seven Diamonds LLC for an event on October 16th, 2021.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5I is a grant contract with Lux Center for the Arts to promote Emerge LNK Mural and Street Arts Festival. The county will reimburse promotional costs in amount not to exceed $5,000 from the Visitors Promotion Fund.
Move approval.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this grant contract for this very exciting event, very great promotional event.
If you
Enjoy.
have not seen those murals, I suggest you get out and do it. You can do a short walking tour, and it's great for that community.
Just that little neighborhood is lit up with these murals. With that, please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. J is a grant contract with Lincoln Children's Museum to promote game day play dates. The county will reimburse promotional costs in the amount not to exceed $5,000 from the Visitors Promotion Fund.
Move approval?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. K is a recommendation from the Pension Review Committee to place the following funds on the watch list for purposes of the Lancaster County Employee Retirement and 457 Deferred Compensation Plan Statement of Overall Investment Objectives and Policies. This is American Funds Fundamental Investors Class R5E and Eaton Vance Atlanta Capital SMID Cap Fund Class R6.
Commissioners, both these funds were underperforming. You received information about this during our briefing with Prudential and Siegel. Frank Piccarelli had noted that due to the requirements of the overall investment objectives and policy, these would be required to be put on the watch list. The committee recommended that they be put on the watch list. This is the final action to put them on the watch list, and then we'll follow these through the next few quarters to see if their performance turns around. Obviously, this is an unusual market situation, so this is the first step. We won't take any hasty action to remove these from the plan. This is really to monitor the performance going forward. Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve this recommendation. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. L is a settlement agreement with Brenda Peters for $143.04 regarding an incident that occurred on April 26, 2021 at 625 North 46th Street, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve item L. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5M is an agreement with JEO Consulting Group, Inc. for structural consultation services related to bridges in Lancaster County. The expenditure for these services shall not exceed $40,000.
Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. This is an annual contract for specialized bridge consulting. You may not realize that I am a professional engineer. However, there's a second engineering certification called an SE, which is a licensed structural engineer. It does require a master's degree and some additional time. JEO does have one of these people on staff that can give us the specialized advice that we need when we are evaluating these critical bridges.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve this agreement. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. N is approval and submission of the Equal Employment Opportunity Plan certification form declaring that Lancaster County has submitted an EEOP utilization report to the Office for Civil Rights. This includes authorizing the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer to electronically sign a certification form. On behalf of the Chair, the certification form is required for receipt of certain grants.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion on this? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum, Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 6 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. We do need to do announcements, though, before.
Oh, yes, we do.
I would just say that, I don't see anyone here wishing to speak on items relating to county business. So let's close public comment.
The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next staff meeting on Thursday, September 23rd, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. in room 113 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will conduct interviews for the Youth Services Director position on Friday, September 24th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, September 28th, 2021 at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commission@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on Link TV City. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on Link TV and can be viewed on YouTube. And I'll go ahead and call the roll for the adjournment.
Great.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, we are adjourned from that, and we will move to open the Lancaster County Board of Equalization meeting for Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. Mr. Clerk.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk's staff. Printing options are available upon request. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, September 7th, 2021.
I'd move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Shore,
Abstain.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 yes, 1 abstention. Number 2 are additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Move approval of the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the additions and deductions. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 is notice of assessed valuation change for property taxation purposes. This is for Las Brias Land Development Company, Plan A Properties LLC, and Paul Walls.
Good morning, Scott Gaines, Deputy Assessor, Register of Deeds. These are 3 more corrections that we've been bringing to you frequently, where we put bad information in the system. What these are is reconfigured properties where the building permit was left on the parent parcel. These were land values that obviously have new construction on them, so this is to clarify that the value should reflect the building values on these. So notice will go to the taxpayers, and if there's a problem with those values, they have appeal rights.
Move approval of the notices going out.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the notices. Please call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 4, public hearing. This is for motor vehicle tax exemption applications. This includes American Red Cross, Sisters of Mary, Queen of Mercy, and Lin Kuang Buddhist Center.
All right, with that, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on any of these items? If none, we'll close the public hearing.
Next is number 5, action on the following motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 6, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to County Board of Equalization business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Anyone? I'm seeing no one. Dan, we'll close the public comment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.